Hey there guys, PC Guy here with the news in tech and gaming for the week, and this time around we start not with a rumor but actually disproving one. This was not a rumor that actually featured here. I would have otherwise mentioned it, but it kind of popped up at the start of the week, so didn't really actually mention it in the news episode, but there was a rumor floating around regarding AMD's big Navi or 5950 XT as per usual. Multiple sources reported it, but I had seen it first on Guru 3D or 3D Guru or whatever. And it involved the memory manufacturer SK Hynix that supposedly leaked a screenshot somehow with a full-on information of the 5950 XT, as you could see here in the screenshot, and a full-on information of the card configuration. Now this was already weird from the get-go, but because why would a memory manufacturer, even if they were manufacturing memory for the 5950 XT, why would they list all the specs like that on such a handy leakable screenshot format, I might add? But they have since then issued a statement saying that the screenshot is not from any of their internal sources or internal documentation, and that, well, it's just, they just confirmed that it's not one of their documents, and, well, it's not real, so it's basically a fabricated screenshot just built to, well, generate hype for whatever reason. Yeah, things like this are the reason why whenever I mention like a leak or rumor, I make sure that it's clear that it's not an official statement, because you can never really know when it's real or not. In this case, we have a very clear confirmation very shortly after it's not the real deal, but often you just don't hear anything about it anymore, and you really only know at release if it actually adds up or not, and by then you're months later. So in any case, it does not mean that the 5950 XT is not real or is not going to be a good card, but it's not going to be with the specs that are shown there, or at the very least might be some of the specs, but some were quite fishy, like a crazy amount of VRAM and that sort of thing, which is definitely not something that I expect to happen. It was 24 gigs of HB memory, so that would be way overkill for a consumer card. On the CPU side of things, Intel's i9-9900KS, which is currently the top dog in terms of actually mainstream platform, seems to be kind of disappearing from the market and going into end-of-life status. Intel had let us know in advance that it was going to be a limited production run, so not a standard product on their lineup, but it seems that the stock is now dwindling and the prices are rising on the 9900KS, just in the same proportion that the availability is dropping, and you're probably going to have some tough time actually finding it for sale if you don't act fast. In any case, you can see that there is a markup of nearly 100 euros on the processor if you compare it to about a month and a half ago. So yeah, it does seem to be tricky. I'm not sure if they are still in production or not, but then again, the performance uplift in relation to the normal 9900K is not enormous, and the 10th generation Intel is in the horizon in a couple of months most likely. So yeah, does it really matter all that much? Probably not, but if you are interested in one, I would definitely act quickly. Speaking of acting quickly, if you are looking to get some RAM memory, now is probably the time to do so. We already have talked about in the past about how the consoles that are coming out at the end of the year are going to be gobbling up a good amount of DDR4, how the SSD manufacturing also is impacted by VRAM and vice versa because of the production method that is used. But now apparently coronavirus is also there in the mix. And yes, I can say that because I'm not monetized, so that's not gonna affect the channel's monetization or anything. For those unaware, YouTube has been demonetizing any mention of this, probably in an attempt to stem like conspiracy theories and panic mongering and such, but in any case that doesn't affect us. But to the news at hand. Samsung has confirmed the case at their plant in North Korea, so yeah, they were shut down for a while, scrubbing everything and such. They have since been back in production, but yeah, it probably has affected their production in some way. Similarly, memory manufacturer SK Hynix that I mentioned earlier on that leak rebuttal piece. They also were closed. I'm not actually sure if they already are opened again, but they have sent home 800 workers in sort of a self-quarantine. So they probably are not really at full speed yet or even having any sort of production runs. This brings us to a point that I did not really mention in my previous video about if it's the right time to upgrade your PC or not. It probably is, to be quite honest, because as you can see, there seem to be some issues. A lot of computer components are manufactured in Asia, specifically Korea, Taiwan and such, so there probably will be an impact in the supply chain. Either prices might go up or availability might go down. You might see things not in stock. So in any case, if you are looking at getting anything to upgrade your PC, unless you are waiting for something that's coming up and that's not really out yet, like let's say Ampere from Nvidia or Zen 3 or Intel's 10th Gen that you really can't get yet. If you are looking for something that is out there, don't hold out and just go for it, because you might either not be able to get it or you might have to pay more for it because of possible supply chain disruptions. Speaking about disruptions, Mindfactory is a German website that, well, as you could imagine, features PC gear, and they have reported on their CPU sales data from the last couple of months. And yeah, as you can expect, it's a complete onslaught. It's borderline barbaric, and Intel is getting pretty demolished, with 86.11 sales share going for AMD, with barely 14, well, under 14 actually, in favor of Intel. They actually have a little breakdown of the CPU sales, and it is just AMD, 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 with the 9700K making an honorable mention on Intel's side, quite far down the list. And yeah, the 3600 alone is selling 13 times more almost than the 9700K. And if you add it all up, if you add all these together, then yeah, it's just not funny. We are probably going to see a reversal of this in the coming months. When Intel's 10th Gen launches, they probably will either surpass or at least go head to head with AMD's current offerings. They will be enabling hyper-threading on most of their processors, so AMD's multi-thread performance domination is probably going to come to a halt of sorts. However, we do expect that Zen 3 will be available end of the year or start of next year, possibly end of the year, kind of a paper launch, so to speak, and actual availability probably in Q1 of next year. So Intel has a few months to possibly breathe. They probably will regain some ground in terms of sales share. Keep in mind, this is all only in the DIY market, not so much in OEM, etc. But they probably will have a little bit of a reprieve before they get hammered again when Zen 3 and Ryzen 4000 series actually comes out, which I do expect to be a complete onslaught once again, at least until Intel manages to get their process node down, which might take another generation or two. Putting a bit of a damper on Intel's recovery is the fact that they will require a new motherboard for their processors, while AMD has stuck to their socket and their motherboard structure for the past 3 generations and will support it for the next. So that is kind of an extra cost if you are going to go with an Intel processor, and from a value and budgeting standpoint, really cuts down on whatever possible improvements they might have. Few honorable mentions to cap off the video. Xbox has released not completely a full reveal, but kind of a preview of some of the features of their new Xbox Series X, which they say is not the official name, but we might as well refer to it by that name. And they mention GPU performance of 12 teraflops, variable shade rating, hardware accelerated ray tracing, and quick resume for multiple games, and smart delivery. Now, quickly going through the list point per point, at 12 teraflops, people are saying that kind of rivals a 2080, an RTX 2080 in terms of raw teraflop output. However, that is a bit of an unfair comparison, because it also very much depends on the underlying architecture, how it actually performs. So it does not mean that you're going to get 2080 level type of graphical performance. It could be getting more, it could be getting worse. It depends on a lot of other factors. That's just kind of like, let's say, the raw horsepower, and how that is utilized is what actually will give you the graphical performance that you're going to be seeing. Variable shade rating is kind of confirms what I had said in the video a while back. It's a technique that on the center of your screen, it will render things in a higher detail and higher resolution, and at the edges where you don't really focus much, it will be not as well rendered, let's say. It's supposedly not very perceptible while you're gaming, but we'll have to actually wait and see it in practice. And this is probably how they are going to achieve high refresh rate at higher resolutions that they've been kind of bragging that they'll be able to achieve. Now we'll just have to wait and see how effective it actually is in practice, or if it's just a claim and you'll end up having to play at low resolutions anyway to maintain that image quality that you would be satisfied with. We already knew that they would have hardware accelerated ray tracing, still no clue how quick it will be, how effective it will be, if it will conquer the same performance penalties as Nvidia's RTX series, where it basically cuts your FPS in half or worse in some cases. Quick resume for multiple games is handy if you want to just jump in and out quickly. And smart delivery is actually something interesting, because it might actually provide not just backwards compatibility, but also forwards compatibility with other consoles that might come in the future. They have also confirmed the compatibility of accessories that you might have bought for your Xbox, for your current Xbox. They will be compatible with the future Xbox. And some game developers have also mentioned, like Cyberpunk, for example, from CD Projekt Red, they have guaranteed that if you buy Cyberpunk 2077 for the current generation, you will not have to rebuy it for the next generation consoles or PC, but you will be able to just play them there as well without having to rebuy it, which honestly is pretty good relief. Saves you from having to buy your same game twice if you wanted to play it on different consoles. Now, I had one last point, but I'll kind of choose not to make it. There was yet another rumor going on around Ampere that it was going to be twice as fast performance on ray tracing, and the die was going to be this and this much big. It had a few screenshots of the die scheme, not really a picture, but just a scheme, a schematic, let's say, that we have no idea. Someone could have made that in Paint in like 10 minutes. So not really worth reporting. The rumor is out there that it is going to be, and I'm just going to read it real quick. I will not even put it on the screen. In 32 units are unchanged. FP 32 units are going to be doubled. Performance of tensor cores doubled. Enhanced cache. Better RTX gaming architecture with RT core advanced, and this and that. And it is supposedly going to be PCIe Gen 4, 826 square millimeter dies, which is crazy big, mind you, and up to 20 gigs of VRAM, which also sounds a bit too much, kind of unnecessarily too much, and I don't see them actually putting 20 gigs in the card if they don't have to, for cost saving and margin reasons, obviously. So again, the piece at the start of this video was the prime example why you should take all these rumors with a grain of salt, especially when they seem too good to be true. PCIe Gen 4 is also, I mean, it's nice if it has it, but what's the point when PCIe Gen 3 is not saturated by the bandwidth that the card requires? Then PCIe Gen 4 is, I mean, it is there, but might as well not be. You will only be able to use it with a PCIe Gen 4 motherboard anyway, and even if you do, you probably won't see much of an improvement unless they really screw up on the drivers and on the architecture side. So not much of a point. These have been the headlights of the week. Hope you guys have caught up in the news in the tech industry. Not a whole lot to be said in terms of actual launches, but it is the time of the launch cycle that we are in right now. So yeah, drop a like and a comment. Let us know what you think of the video and what can be improved and all that sort of stuff. and what you think of the news that I just mentioned, obviously. Feel free to check the rest of the videos, subscribe if you would like to see the channel grow. That's what we really need right now to be able to provide you guys with better content, both more and better quality and better types of content, obviously. So yeah, take a look, subscribe if you would like to see the channel grow, and I'll see you in the next video, hopefully. So have fun.